You ever feel like you are juggling everything? Work, kids, sports, the spouse, and everything seems to be dropping. How do we fix that? Why does it feel like the more advanced we get in technology, the actually shouldn't we be offloading some stuff? In today's episode, we are going to help you learn how to offload things so you can get the life, the peace, the enjoyment you've been looking for in a hectic, chaotic world. If this resonates with you, I want you to hit that subscribe button and let's jump into it. Welcome to the married life. All right, so as we dive into work-life balance, family balance, spouse balance, what this looks like, oftentimes what happens is that we feel so overwhelmed. It almost is like we're drowning, right? We're just trying to keep our head above water. Can you share with everyone a time that you have felt like that?
Just one time?
I mean, we have as long as we want, I guess. It's our podcast.
Yeah. So like literally recently, right? We scheduled out time because there were just some things that we needed to plan together, do together, goals together. Like we both had to be there. It was like a scheduled time. And so we kind of got into it about something, and it really triggered something within me that I just felt like what you're saying, like so overwhelmed with everything, like work schedules, kids schedules. It doesn't help that they're on Christmas break right now. Personal life. I've talked a million times recently about like my health concerns, my health issues that I'm like struggling with, that, you know, if you are that person struggling with health issues, no matter what it is, it's constantly on your mind. Mm-hmm. It affects every area of your life. And so I came to you and I was just like, I am just so overwhelmed by all of these things in my life that I don't know. Like you're saying, like I felt like I was drowning. I didn't know which way was up. I didn't know what to do. Yeah. And a lot of times I feel like as we were going through that conversation,
what we found is, even to this point, is that like we only have so much energy per person. Mm-hmm. You only have so much bandwidth, so much to give out. And so even in the conversation I asked you, like almost what do you think are the expectations I'm putting on you? And you even said that, like, I don't know what is expected of me for church, for the married life, for, you know, like, because there's so much for family, right?
Yeah.
And so when you're actually able to say like, okay, what are the expectations and where's my energy actually going and where should it go? Mm-hmm. We're able to actually find not balance, because balance doesn't exist, but a rhythm.
Yeah.
And that's the focus of finding rhythm in marriage, finding rhythm with work, finding rhythm with friends, finding rhythm with our kids, all the different things. Mm-hmm. Because if not, you do just feel this weight over and over. You know, it reminds me of the Encanto movie, you know, the girl who sings, mm-hmm. you know, one of the sisters singing, you know, like, I can't even think of the song, but anyway, she's like always taking on more and more and more and more.
Oh, Louisa, she's the strong one.
Yes. And it is, especially for moms. Moms will have this mindset, and we're going to talk about mom guilt, but this mentality of you have to keep taking on more and more and more, right? Like you have to hold everything up, but then you're trying to hold everybody up and you're actually drowning.
Yeah.
And so it's like, we as husbands, we don't want our wives to feel that way. Again, whether it's a mom, whether it's a wife, however, you know, that relationship looks for you as you're, you know, viewing, but being there and understanding, okay, how much energy do you have and where's it going and where should it go? And same thing for me. How much energy do I have and where does it need to go? I'm reading a new book right now. It's called Traction. And he talks about that oftentimes as he's training business leaders, that they are dispersing their energy in 100 different places. And he said what he's put together is a system that literally it's 6 spots that your energy should be going. Mm. And if it's going out of those, you're wasting energy. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of just like this, like as you're watching The Married Life, as you're watching, you know, on YouTube or listening to a podcast, you're watching this because you want to invest in yourself. You're like, I want to, because you value yourself. It's a good investment. So it's like, with my energy, I only have so much. Where is it going? In Ecclesiastes 3:1, it says this. It says, there's a time for everything and a season for every activity under the heavens. And so we need to know that there's a rhythm that we need to embrace that changes from season to season.
Yeah.
Because even right now with littles at home,
it's totally different.
very different than what it look like when they're
I'm
20.
even seeing like the difference between, because so I have like a 10-year-old that's in my house, and then I have a 3-year-old who's almost 4 in my house, and even like their needs from me are very different. And so realizing, okay, when you have your firstborn, it's like, oh my gosh, this is crazy. This is going to be for what feels like forever. And you realize, okay, it's really not going to be forever. And so my time in that season of like littles is going to be totally different, even like year after year. Like give it 6 months to a year and your life is going to look totally different.
Yep.
And so that's why we're talking about rhythms.
Yes.
Knowing that the season that you're in, the assignment that you have currently is not going to be a forever thing, because it is just a rhythm of life, right? Harvest time is crazy. Like literal physical harvest time on a farm is wild. Whereas like winter season, when the ground needs to be a little bit more dormant, yes, there's stuff to take care of, but it's not going to be as wild and crazy as 100%. Harvest.
And so that's why even like when we're looking at life work balance, or as we're going to call it rhythm, the number one thing we have to do first is audit our time. We have to audit our time, because we will also or often feel burned out and burning the candle at both ends and all this stuff, because we're not actually paying attention to our time and where time is actually going. And so even for us, it's like there's a book that I read called Learned Excellence. And he talks about in the book about scheduling everything. Literally, not just your work schedule, because a lot of us do that. We're like, when we're at work, we know, okay, I'm going to do this from 9 to 10, 10 to 11, I have this meeting, 11 to 12, all the stuff. But doing that at home, before work and after work, because if you don't, this is what you'll notice, you will end up, and he uses this illustration. He says, when you are not scheduling your time and actually being diligent with your time, it's like you're just taking your wallet and you're just pulling out cash and just throwing it away. He's like, that's what we're doing with our time. We're just throwing it away. Because think about this. How often do you get bored and you just pull out your phone and we just start scrolling and you just start doom scrolling?
Yeah.
You're just going and going and going and going, right? And you never get that fix. And all of a sudden 30 minutes has gone by, an hour has gone by. And so this is what, okay, there's a practical tip for you, okay? Do a time audit. And it's as easy as this. You can actually take a piece of paper, you can take an app, you can take a notebook, and you write down, if you get off work at 5 p.m., 6 p.m., whenever you're off work, write down that 5 to 9, 5 to 10, whenever you go to sleep. And every hour, every 30 minutes for the next 2 days, write down, what do you do with that additional time? Where do you spend it? Yeah. Do you actually spend it on social? Do you spend it on just watching TV? Do you spend it on binge watching Netflix? Do you spend it on cooking? Maybe whatever it is. It could be a good thing, but you just write down what you're doing. And then you'll actually see, okay, I might feel burnt out. I might feel like I don't have energy. I might feel like, like that my life is out of balance, but it's just because we're not actually budgeting our time correctly.
Well, you challenged me with this the other day. You told me my greatest strength is my greatest weakness. And it was going back to finding the rhythm in my life. Is I'm a very personable person. Like I want to just hang out and build relationship and talk. And I am very present in the moment. And I know that drives you nuts sometimes, because I will throw away time structure for relationship every time. And that's a good thing, right? Because sometimes you can be the opposite, where it's like, it needs to be a personal touch point, but you're like, I'm 5 minutes behind. I always joke where like, I'm going to be late, but my kids are going to be fed. They're going to be clothed. They're going to be happy. They're going to be all these things where you're showing up. My kids are naked. They're starving, but you are 20 minutes early. Right. And so it's like that balance of stuff, or finding that in you. And you told me the other day that like my greatest strength is relationship. But at the same time, like, a 30-minute meeting goes into an hour and a half meeting because I'm building relationship. And so it's like, but then I get stressed out because I don't have time for all the other things, but it was really my own fault.
And and that's it. It's a time audit, right?
It's a time audit
of looking, okay, I'm supposed to have 30 minutes for this. It's turned into an hour and a half. I just lost an hour of time.
Yeah.
And that's why we feel stressed. That's why we feel that we don't have a rhythm. That's why we don't feel like there's balance in our life.
Yeah.
And so we have to be honest with ourselves. It's jumping on the scale. If you have New Year's resolutions and goals to lose weight, but you don't jump on the scale to look at where am I and where do I want to go, you don't know. Because, I mean, what if you lose the 10 pounds, but you never jumped on the scale? So you actually don't know if you lost that weight, right? Yeah. And so it's the same thing looking at your time.
Well, you're saying that, and I think I don't want to get on the scale. But I think it's important to say that, because I don't want to get on the scale in fear of like feeling defeated. And I think sometimes we don't want to audit our time because we don't actually want to put in the time to get better, to feel more in rhythm. Yeah. Because guess what? It takes work.
Yep.
Right? I get on that scale and now I know how much work I have to put in, versus just being able to say, well, I didn't know. I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do this. Yeah. It makes you accountable.
Yeah.
And so, like, literally, as you were saying that, I was like, I don't want to get on the scale. I don't want to get on the scale. And so you might be here today where it's like, you don't want to get on the scale. You don't want to see where all your time is being. You don't want to see where all you're spending all your money wrong, because you like it. You like to scroll. You like to spend your money. You like to do those things.
I do.
You do.
Guilty.
You had to take off the Amazon app on your phone, but I am pretty sure it's back on.
Instagram's not, though.
Oh my gosh.
So I'm just spending money, not wasting time.
So I want to encourage you today, like, get on the scale.
Yes.
Get on the scale, because this is what Psalms 90:12 says. It says, teach us to number our days that we may gain a heart of wisdom.
Yes.
Your days are numbered whether you like it or not.
Yes.
So God, teach us to number our days so that we can have wisdom.
Yes.
Right? Not getting lost in the scroll, not getting lost in the like not being able to spend your money wisely.
Binge watching stuff.
Like, you don't want to live your life. And this is another shameless plug for the Blueprints of Marriage, is like, I start out the book talking about your own funeral. Like, you need to number your days.
Yes. Time is a gift.
And it's the only thing you cannot get back. I'm telling you, and you might be struggling financially right now, but I promise you can make the money back.
Yep. You can. It happens.
God can instantly give you a witty idea, which he says in the Bible. He will give us witty ideas. In literally 6 months, your life could be totally different. A year, your life could be totally different.
Yep.
Right? That one stock flips, your life is totally different.
We have friends from Michigan that he had a dream for an invention. And he created that, took plenty of years to do it. Mm-hmm. And now they sell this worldwide.
It's wild.
They are thriving financially.
From a dream. Their life flipped upside down. And
they named it after, I guess after God, because it was a God-given dream. Mm-hmm. You know, they're followers of Jesus. And so it was just cool. So just when she's saying that, it's not just like, oh, this is just like hopes and dreams and rainbows and butterflies and, you know, prosperity preaching. Like, nope. That's the God we serve.
That is the God we serve. And so time is literally something that we cannot get back. And so that's why it's so important.
And that leads to number 2, okay? When you're trying to figure out this rhythm in your life, you have to set priorities. This is so, we in world, our work, our boss, our career, they want us to obviously do excellent and well, right? Because it helps with the business. It helps better the business. But they're not going to prioritize your mental health. I shouldn't say that. Maybe some businesses do. But for the most part, you have to prioritize your mental health. You have to prioritize your time with your spouse. You have to prioritize the time with your kids. You have to be the one that prioritizes. And that's like for us, you know? So like for some of you, I'm going to tell you something. You're going to be like, this is crazy. I can't believe he does that. So I work out 2 times a day, once in the morning at 5 a.m.
Before anybody's awake.
Yep. Because my goal is I want to spend time with the Lord and I want to work out and I want to read a book. So then when my family's awake, I'm with them. When my wife's awake, I'm with her. Like their priority now. Okay. I have to invest in myself for an overflow to invest in them. This is what we do with the married life. We invest in ourselves to invest into you. But then I also go to the gym at either 2 p.m. or 3 p.m. because it's a priority to me that 1, I'm healthy, and 2, my mental health. I actually get so much clarity when I go to the gym again, because for the longest time I was just doing a power nap, which is fantastic. I still love power naps. But when I go to the gym, I'm getting creative ideas, and I'll actually start texting Krissy and our other staff members.
These texts.
And I'm like,
you're like, it's not like you're working.
yeah,
You're still working. It's not even like a break for you.
yeah,
It like just gets your mind going.
for sure.
I've seen a difference. Like you would always do that to me in the morning too. I always get texts at 5 o'clock in the morning, but my phone is on Do Not Disturb. But now I'm getting it in the afternoon as well.
Yep. And that's what, and again, it's just that priority, because one of the biggest things, and I think we're going to talk about this a little later, but when you're actually asking and really caring about your family, caring about your wife, and asking this question, I heard a pastor say this years and years and years ago, but he said, what's it like to be on the other side of me? Mm-hmm. And so you want to know from your spouse, like, this is a dangerous question. Hey, ask your spouse this, ask your kids this, if you have kids, what do I prioritize in life?
Right. You think one thing.
100%. I think it's you. I think my kids are like, oh, you love Jesus so much. They might be like, you love football, you know?
It's true. And let me see your bank account.
Yep.
I'll tell you right now what you prioritize. And so if you want a realistic, right, numbers, black and white, look at your bank account and ask people around you.
Well, that's
what you prioritize.
That's so good too, because even when you say that, and again, everyone's at different places financially, but when you think about like even date nights, right? Like your bank account will reflect your dates.
Yeah.
Now, again, dates don't always have to cost money. No. You can go to the beach and whatnot. But still, that's something you want to prioritize.
Yeah.
You know?
It's never in your budget.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I want to address something.
Yep.
As a mom, and I know everybody out there who is a mom, you're trying to figure out rhythm, balance. What does this look like in my life? We're just going to say it. We're going to address the elephant in the room of mom guilt. And like, we've literally talked to our counselor about it. And it is like a real thing. And it's very difficult to maneuver because, number one, your spouse doesn't understand you because they're not the mom.
Nope, I'm a dad.
And they don't have...
I'm like, let's just go.
They don't have mom guilt. And so I talked about it. I think it's a good thing. Having mom guilt is a good thing if you keep it in check, because it means that you love your kids and that you care, right?
Yep.
It's like if you don't have that thing, like you might be unhealthy in a different way. And so knowing that you have the right rhythms in your life, having the aerial view, right? Knowing like, okay, realistically, I spend a crap ton of time with my kids. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, we're always going to have mom guilt, but like we're saying before, get on the scale. Maybe you do have mom guilt because you don't spend time. Like, get on the scale and actually say, and then work that through your life.
That's good.
Matthew 6:33 says, but seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all of these things will be given to you as well. Here's how I look at it. You know, you might have mom guilt for a bunch of different reasons, right? I know some people who have mom guilt because they had a terrible childhood and they didn't get the things that they needed from their parents and blah, blah, blah. Now they want to give their kid everything.
Right.
Right?
Yep.
They want to go on the complete opposite spectrum of what they had as a child. That's not healthy either.
Right.
Right? I'm not saying the abuse and the trauma that you experienced, that's not healthy. But giving your child anything and everything worldly that they want is not good either. So when the Bible says to seek first his kingdom and his righteousness, and all these things will be given to you as well, my point of view as a mom is like, okay, I don't need to abuse my kids, obviously. But if I give them anything and everything that they could possibly want, not giving them the spiritual food that they actually need, helping them to seek the kingdom and seek his righteousness, they're going to have different trauma than I did as a kid.
Yep.
And so going back biblically, okay, what does this look like?
Yep.
Prioritizing God first for your children, not things of this world, not money, not all of that thing. And I'm not saying don't give those things to your kids. Don't go on vacations. Don't, whatever. Do those things. But if that is your priority,
right,
you're going to constantly have mom guilt. And now you're creating monsters, right? Mm-hmm. And now you're going to have a different problem.
Yep.
Than when you were a kid.
Yeah.
And so biblically knowing what your kids need.
That's so good. Hey, if this is helping you out, I want you to hit that subscribe button right now, because we want to continue to invest in couples just like you who want to invest in themselves. So we're going to go to number 3, okay? Remove time wasting activities. So there's this guy that I follow on X, formerly known as Twitter. I don't even know the dude's name, but I just sent to Krissy last week. I'm like, what if we do this? And this guy years ago got rid of TV, got rid of Netflix, Disney Plus, all the stuff, right? Just got rid of everything, got rid of social media. And he said, what we did is we obviously got rid of all pretty much tech, and we spend more time with each other, husband and wife, more dates, more time in the Bible, more time watching sermons in worship, more time with the kids of doing board games, of going on walks, hikes, adventures, stuff like that. But then also more stuff on businesses. And so he said that they used to both be self-employed, or not self-employed. Both
W2.
Yeah. They got to a place because now they're taking this time at night where they would just binge watch stuff. Instead of binge watching something at night, they started watching business videos, leadership business videos, and they created their own separate businesses. Now I think he has like multiple businesses. They have multiple streams of income now.
It's like 14 different. They went from 2 streams of income, W2s each, to 14 different incomes.
Who doesn't want that?
Right.
You know?
And that's even biblical. In Ecclesiastes, it talks about having 6, 7, even 8 different streams of revenue, because you never know what tomorrow is going to bring. You never know if one's going to fall, you never know.
Yep.
And so that is actually biblical.
Yeah.
Not having 2, but having 6, 7, even 8, it says. It's in Ecclesiastes 11 something.
That is awesome. And so, and it goes back to number 3. You have to remove the time wasting activities. So if you want multiple streams of income, right? If you want to have a healthy, you're like, oh, I can't have a healthy rhythm with my spouse because I'm always working. Well, are you actually wasting some time with activities that don't matter? And you could actually be investing financially in a way so then you could actually leave the job you're at for one that you really have passion for. And then you actually open up more time with your spouse,
right?
More time with your family, more time with your kids. And so we, again, that's extreme. It's kind of like what Krissy shared in one of our podcasts before, that I'm very extreme. So when we talked about doing a sex calendar, and it's like certain days are mine, like, am I going to be super disappointed when that doesn't happen? Because I'm extreme. Well, when I saw this, I asked her, I was like, you want to do this? She's like, yeah. And so like my mind just like clicked. I'm just in it, like, and the only thing that we're watching right now, because it's playoff football season, is football.
Obviously.
But I deleted
that would be too extreme.
That would be too extreme. I deleted all social. We unplugged one of the TVs. Haven't been on the other TV. Literally, have only watched football, and that's it. But already seen that extra time, right? Removing time wasting activities, where now it's like we are talking more, laying in bed, looking face to face instead of scrolling on our phone, laughing at something together. Now we're just laughing last night about our past, right?
Oh my gosh, that was funny.
And then reading way more together, and then dreaming and working on our podcast and YouTube more together. And so removing those time wasting activities, that's going to really help us for the future that we desire, and that rhythm that you're like, oh, I like this in my life. This feels good as a rhythm.
Yeah. And now for some people that may be like super extreme. Like, I do feel like we kind of are extreme. We're extreme with the way that we eat. We're extreme with like certain things. It's a little bit easier for us because we have been extreme in the past. Like, my kids don't have phones. They don't have iPads. They don't have like unlimited access to the internet. And so it might be extreme for you, but to even like have a pulse on it and say, oh, wait a minute, this is normal, but it shouldn't be.
Right.
And I see it, and I'm not judging you, but like, because I get it.
Yep.
But like seeing families out and like everybody's on their phones.
Yeah.
Like, that really saddens me, because it's like, well, why are you out together as a family when like literally from like a 3-year-old to the 20-year-old, they all have like phones.
Yeah.
And they're all in their own little world. It really makes me sad. And so if that's you, this is not judgment. It's saying like, there's more for you and your family. And we've been in youth ministry for a long time. We don't know everything as a parent, but we can see the other side of other people's parenting. And so like, when you allow that in your home, And then you get so frustrated when either your kids are teenagers and they want nothing to do with you, or when they move out and they want to move away and they don't want to come home for the holidays. They don't. This is why.
Yep.
It's because you initially created like a stiff arm because you had to do X, Y, and Z. And I'm not saying don't ever, because there are times where I'm like, guys, I need you to go watch a movie. I need like some like time. Yep. And so I just want to have a pulse on it is what I'm saying.
Yep.
Of like, let's take a look at it. Let's step on the scale.
Right.
See where we're at.
100%.
Yeah.
So Hebrews 12:1 says, let us throw off everything that hinders and the sin that so easily entangles, and let us run with perseverance the race marked out for us. So the question is, what is hindering your connection with your spouse? What is hindering your connection with your family? What can you give up to connect? Mm-hmm. Because I remember when we were in Indiana, and there was a couple there, they were married. And when we would do marriage counseling with them, one of the things that he got annoyed by was when they would drive, he would want to talk, but she would be scrolling on her phone. So again, giving up time wasting activities, scrolling on your phone, but he never communicated that to her.
Right. She had no idea.
No idea. And so she just thinks, well, we're going for a 20-minute drive for whatever. I'm bored. I'm going to do this. Not realizing he felt undesired, uncared for, unheard. Like, hey, this is time for us.
Right.
And so just being able to do that. And so that is something that was hindering their relationship. And so even having that healthy conversation with your spouse is, what do you think is hindering our relationship right now? Is it too much scrolling, too much binge watching, too much, And again, you might be like, no, we like watching 30 minutes of reels every night because we connect on it. We're not saying don't do that. You just want to have that conversation with your spouse. But also it's like, you can't keep blaming the world that you don't have enough time when you're spending 30 minutes on your phone and not at the gym and you're trying to get healthy.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, we have to take accountability for our own time. Nobody's going to do that for us. Okay, so let's go on to number 4, which actually goes with that. Set a schedule, okay? There is so much importance in scheduling family and marriage time. So if you can schedule meetings at work, if you can schedule, you can then schedule time with your wife and time with your kids. Like, there shouldn't be a difference.
Right.
We should be able to schedule that. And so I was actually listening to this other podcast, and it was so interesting. She was talking about when your children say, like, will you play with me? Will you do this? Whatever it is. She said, and she was a clinical psychologist. She was talking about that. Your kid is just saying, do you see me? Mm-hmm. They want to be seen.
So good.
And she said, this is what's interesting with children. And I read this in a book also, so I'm going to share 2 things. When it comes with a kid, if you just put your phone down, or she said you didn't have to do it then. You could be working on something, right? You just tell them later on we're going to play or do whatever. But you bring it up later on. You leave the phone at home. You're taking them on a walk, walking to school, wrestling. Like, my 3-year-old loves wrestling, right? Yeah. But when you're doing that, you let them know, hey, this is our special time together. Mm-hmm. There's no phone. I'm not distracted. And I'm using this as kids, but same thing with our spouse. Like, this is our time together. I'm not distracted by my phone. I'm not distracted by work. The laptop's closed. It's in the office. Like, I'm fully engaged and fully present with you. Yeah. There's something else she talked about. So for all the parents out there, she said that, or this is from a book I read. He talked about how important it is that when you spend time with your children at night, that literally, if you're working all day and by the time you get home, the kids are already in bed, right? If you go into the room and you just spend 10 minutes at night just sitting on the end of their bed and you just talk, they're like, how far and how important that is to a child, that they're going to talk about it in their future with their friends of, oh, me and my dad used to talk every night. He would always come into my bedroom and just sit at the end of my bed. Like, sometimes
it was only 5 minutes.
5 minutes.
It wasn't an hour.
Right.
It was literally just a small amount of time. And I think what's important here as like a general statement is not about quantity.
Yes.
It is about quality.
Yes.
We all have crazy different lifestyles, jobs, demands from our life. But if we focus on the quality of the moments, the little 5 minutes, the here and there, because the reality is wrestling for more than 5 minutes is actually like exhausting. I'm gonna tell you right now, somebody's always gonna get hurt. If it lasts more than 5 minutes, somebody
Always.
is gonna cry. Somebody's
Always.
gonna get hurt. And so it's like, it's not about the quantity
Right.
of the thing. It's about the quality of it that is remembered the most.
So
Proverbs
good.
16:3 says, commit to the Lord whatever you do, and he will establish your plans. Scheduling helps you prioritize what God values, which is family, love, and connection. And if we could give it a really great quality over quantity,
Yes.
that's what matters the most.
Yes. So number 5, looking at this, where you're trying to figure out the rhythms of balance, of life, of marriage, of all the things, you got to understand, like, your friends and your community matter.
Yeah.
Your friends are really going to determine your future. So even like when you have friends that are sending you podcasts like this, they care about you.
Yep.
When you have friends who are like, oh, I just read this book, or I just read this quote, or I just, whatever it is, I'm reading this in the Bible, look at this. Like, those are the people you want to be with, because those are the people that are going up, right? They're not settling. They know that there's more. Like, we were even on a date the other day, and I don't know if I asked you, if you told me, whatever. I said, what do you love about me, or vice versa? But you were telling me what you love about me. And one of the things is, she said, like, you don't settle. And I was like, that's one of the things I pray about in the morning. Like, God, I want this to be part of my identity, that I don't settle. And that's what we need to be. And we don't settle with friends. You know, we don't settle with a certain community. Just because you've always been part of a community doesn't mean you always have to be.
Right.
Just because they've always been your friend doesn't mean they always have to be. I know some of you are like, well, that sounds harsh, but it's like, but people are either going to push you up or pull you back. And you want those people that are going to push you up.
And even for argument's sake, you don't want people that keep you the same.
Right. Like, you say this all the time. We're not the same when we got married. We're not the same person.
Oh, praise God.
You know?
Praise God. Right? That we make each other better.
Right.
So even pulling somebody back and people making you settle for where you are, that's still a negative impact. You should really be focusing on people who will make you better.
Yes. So, hey, as we're getting ready to wrap this up, don't forget to hit that subscribe button if this is impacting you. If you're like, man, this is helping me with finding out the rhythms of my life. Again, maybe I feel like I don't have time because I'm spending it with friends and all we're doing is talking about X, Y, or Z, and it's not actually benefiting me. So I was listening to Jordan Peterson this morning, and he was telling me, he was personally telling me.
Yeah, you were on the phone call.
Yeah, we were on a Zoom call. We like to see each other face to face. But he was saying that when he was younger with littles at home, he said, I realized that I had 3 things to prioritize, just like we've been talking about. He said, my wife, my kids, and my work. He said, so literally, I actually stopped hanging out with friends that I used to hang out with. And he said, now I didn't cut them out of my life.
Right.
I just didn't invest that time that I used to. It wasn't a priority. He said, my kids were my priority. My wife was my priority. This business that I was building was my priority. And so we're not telling you to cut people out of your life, but you only have so much time.
Yeah.
And so you can't keep getting frustrated. We can't keep getting frustrated that we don't have enough time when we're the ones that spend our time. That's like, again, when you get frustrated, you don't have enough money, but you're the one that spends the money.
Or your wife does.
Or your husband on Amazon. But it's budgeting. It goes back to the exact first thing we talked about. But Colossians 3:23 says, whatever you do, work at it with your heart as working for the Lord, not for human masters. And so we need to understand, as we're talking about this in the marriage context, in our family context, that we need to be intentional with our time as if it's for God, intentional with my wife as if it's for the Lord, right? As if with my kids, and again, we believe that though, like God gave us our kids, like, so we need to steward them and raise them so we can present them back to him and say, hey, this is what we did with your investment. Same thing with you and I, same thing with Vivid Church, same thing with the married life, all of that.
Yeah. Yeah. I just want to, I want to reiterate that we are talking about rhythms, not balance.
Right.
Hopefully that takes a weight off of your shoulders of like, I spend 40 hours at work. I need to spend 40 hours with my spouse. I need to spend 40 hours with my kids. Like, that's just not feasible. And so finding good rhythms in your current situation, in your current stage of life, right? That is what we're looking at here.
Yeah. Because ending with this is that you can be around your spouse, around your family, but actually never present with them. So our goal is making sure that when we are with each other, we are present.
Yeah.
We're not doom scrolling. Our mind isn't somewhere else. I've been so guilty of that. I'm thinking about X, Y, or Z. That's why I'm saying like, we have to get to the place of saying like, nope, the office door is closed. I'm done working. I've spent my time doing that.
Yeah.
Because again, I want to make sure that I have a healthy rhythm. And something, I love this. Earlier, I was listening to Simon Sinek and he was talking about this. One of his old businesses that he had, he said, I don't even remember what it's called, a duvet day. I think that's what it's called. He said this is what they did.
Okay.
Maybe it wasn't a duvet day.
Okay.
Anyways, it was some word. But he said, oftentimes when you are calling into work sick, he's like, really, it's just a sunny day out, right? You're going to the beach. You have the 24-hour flu, right? Like, no, you don't. You want to go to the beach. He said, so we had this day where we're like, you could call in and just use it. No questions asked. Don't lie to us that you're sick. We understand. You want to go spend time with, you need a day. Whether it's at the beach, whether it's with family, whether it's with, I want to go hiking, whatever it is. But it's like us getting to that place healthy, mentally, emotionally, of just knowing like, I want to have such healthy rhythms of knowing, yeah, I just, you know what, this is what today looks like. And could you imagine like, what if all jobs did that? Of like saying, hey, we don't just care because you are obviously helping us get our, the outcome of generating revenue. We want to make sure that you not just have sick days, but you have days for your mental health.
Right.
Where you go and just go.
That you have healthy days.
100%.
Right? Having sick days, but then having healthy days.
Well, it's like we talk about with insurance. Insurance actually isn't trying to keep you healthy, right? Because it doesn't pay for any of the things that we need to keep us healthy. Mm-hmm. It's just when we're sick, it's like, oh, here, do this to try to get out of it quick. Whereas if it was actually paying for the things that are healthy, we wouldn't be getting sick.
Right.
Anyways, hey, as we're wrapping up today, if you are enjoying this, I'm going to put another video right here that if you want to keep going deeper with your relationship, with your spouse and investing in each other, go ahead and click right here, right now. We'll see you in the next video.